What's up, guys? We are back with another Black Series review, another exclusive review, taking a look at a figure that I wasn't sure I was actually going to be opening, but here we are. So today we're taking a look at the SDCC exclusive vintage Kenner style Boba Fett that comes on the 40th anniversary Empire Strikes Back card. So of course there's a lot of cool stuff going on here as far as packaging goes. This guy is meant to mimic the original figure from way back in the day, and you've got a nice holographic card there, a lot of nice foil work on it, a figure in the bubble, so very much like a vintage package, and then the back of the card has got a shot of Boba and Lando and Vader, and then a little bit of a write-up on why Boba Fett looks the way he does. So let's do it. Let's pull this guy out and take a look. And here he is out of the package, our Kenner Tribute Boba Fett. So of course this is the figure that is trying to mimic that original Kenner action figure look that was very much not the same as our on-screen counterpart. And I think this is a pretty cool figure. I like the idea behind it as far as an exclusive. I like this color scheme just in general on an action figure. I think it looks cool, even though I don't have any real nostalgia for the Kenner figure. I own 0 Kenner Star Wars figures from that era. That was not my era of Star Wars figures, and it never has been. I appreciate them, but I don't have a lot of nostalgia for them. So this is something that I'm just kind of taking in as, yeah, it's a cool figure. It has a lot of historical significance in the toy world, I suppose, and I think it looks pretty cool. Your experience getting this figure might color yours a different way, but I do think it's a pretty cool figure. It is, of course, built on that original Boba Fett figure that we've had for years and years in the Black Series at this point, which is honestly to its downfall in some ways, because this figure is woefully under-articulated. So let's take a look and see how he moves around. The head is pretty well done. He can look really far up and back, and then he looks pretty far down, and then you can rotate. He does have a little bit of bobble at the head. You can send the arms all the way out, a little better than 90, and then rotate. Of course, no bicep swivel, single rotating elbow with a hinge. You've also got forearm swivel, though, but you really only get 90-ish degrees. That's not even 90 degrees. So you've got forearm swivel there as well as elbow, and then you've got wrist rotation and hinge. Standard stuff there. He does have the kind of diaphragm cut, but because his chest is all one piece, he really can't do a whole lot. You can't send him forward, and you can only send him backwards a little bit and then side to side. And then he's got rotation. Legs go out about that far. They do not kick far at all because of the pouches, so if you want to rotate him, you can kind of get him forward, but then he's doing whatever that is, and he goes back just a little bit. Thigh cut, of course. Double jointed knees, and then you've got your rocker and hinge down at the ankle. So he's not incredibly dynamic, to say the least. He definitely could use some tweaks in terms of the body. Obviously that's not what they're going for here, but articulation is still articulation. So he does move, but he is definitely just as hindered as any other Boba Fett you've ever played with in this line so far. Now, all that said, I'm very sure that most people are not buying this for his dynamic movement possibilities. I imagine a lot of people are keeping this guy carded, and there is no reason not to, because he looks beautiful on that card. But as far as the figure goes, just the figure itself, it's a pretty cool figure. It is, again, just a repaint of Boba Fett, and it is not 100% a recreation of that Kenner figure. It's Kenner inspired, it's a tribute, but it's not the same. Color tones are slightly off in places. Things that don't exist on a vintage figure, like the Death's Head, are here, or the Jaster's Friel on his chest. That stuff was just not there. And, it's a little bit of an artistic license to bring that figure, that color scheme, that style into the Black Series, while also not making him 100% just a very basic paint job type of figure. So I think they did a pretty good job with this guy. I've been a pretty solid fan of this Boba Fett figure to begin with. It is, again, under-articulated, and it kind of always has been, but I thought for the most part that it looked pretty good. And I do like it in this color scheme. I think, for the most part, they did a pretty good job trying to recreate this in whatever style they were going for. So it's not 100% a recreation, but I do think it looks good. Tempo on the insignias is really nice. I mean, the colors are just really saturated and vibrant. He does have a little bit of wash on the pants and on the bodysuit to make him look a little dirty, which I think is nice. Silvers really pop, so certain things like those little details that you wouldn't really see on a vintage figure, just at this point anyway, they really stand out. They add a little bit of flair to the figure to keep him from being just a very, very basic repaint. And then, of course, you've got his rocket pack on the back, which does pop out, just like the original figure, so you can pop it out and it'll peg back on. And, of course, it's got the red rocket to kind of mimic the rocket-firing Boba Fett look, which I think is really cool. That's one of those things that definitely stands out as a very specific change to this figure to make him look very Kenner-inspired, not to mention, of course, the other color differences. And we'll do a comparison to the first Boba Fett here in just a second. But I think he looks good. There is one area on this figure that I absolutely hate, though. It's very, very minor in the grand scheme of things. It's just an annoyance. And it's this guy right here. So this is where the little cape would normally go on the original figure, and, well, the Kenner figure does not have a cape. He doesn't have that piece of fabric that drapes over him. Well, this guy has a hole in his body because of that, and I really, really don't like that. Is it a game changer? Is it a deal breaker? It's really not, but it's an annoyance. I'm sure something could have been done there to slightly retool that and just fill it in, but it definitely stands out to me, and I guess I forgot that it didn't have anything filled in there. So it's definitely an annoyance. Again, it's not a huge thing. It's actually a very physically small thing, but it's something that I can't stop seeing now. Now, the head sculpt on this guy, I think, is pretty solid. I've always been a fan of the helmet on this Boba Fett. I think it works really well. I dig the color scheme, that gray with the yellow stripes, the red, and it just works. You've got the dent, which is very prominent, very, very highlighted with some silver paint in there. There is one thing that I'm noticing, actually, now that I have this guy in person, though, is that we do have some wear on the visor, and it kind of looks like play wear, almost, like something that after you played around with that vintage figure, it kind of starts to rub off, and you see the underlying color. Kind of seems like that's what they're going for here, but the original glam shots for this figure, and I can't remember if he looked this way in Celebration or not when they had him on the show floor, but he didn't have that. So that was a change between then and actually producing him, which is kind of interesting. It's not a big deal. It's just an observation. And then, of course, you've got the kind of rangefinder here, which unfortunately does not move on the original Boba Fett figure, so you can't have it positioned down to mimic the Kenner figure, which is definitely a little bit of a bummer because I'd really like to have that, even though, again, that figure has no nostalgia for me. I think it's an iconic look to have that constantly down, so I really wish we could have done that. But then again, that would have required an actual retool of this helmet rather than just a repaint. So otherwise, I think he looks really good outside of the fact that we can't really put it in that iconic display pose. And then, of course, here he is next to the other Boba Fetts that we've gotten so far. So we've got our regular Boba Fett here on the right, and you've got your prototype on the left. There's really no reason to compare against this one because, well, he's all white. But you can see that there is a lot of stuff that's different here, and it really all comes down to colors and just the vibrancy and kind of the saturation of some of these colors, because this guy's kind of muted in a lot of ways, like the yellow on the knee pads is really muted, and then the greens are kind of muted as well, but then these are incredibly rich and vibrant colors. The yellow in particular pops on this guy, the red on the mask, the red on the right gauntlet really pops, and of course the rocket in the back as well. Otherwise, though, they are, of course, the same figure, and I think they all look really, really nice together. Having these three all together is really, really doing it for me, but you can see that there is a distinct difference across the three if you wanted to have all of them on your shelf. Of course, we've got to talk accessories here, and this is another area where we have gotten a little bit more in the way of what makes this a Kenner tribute style figure. So to start with, you've of course got Boba Fett's kind of sawed-off blaster rifle there, which I always like. I think it works really well, and these are just done up in black plastic, straight black as far as this particular gun goes, so that is a change as well. And then you've got his pistol, which is already on him, on his person, in his holster over here. So you've got the little pistol here. You can pop that back in, again done up in black plastic. But the big thing that makes him a Kenner tribute is to have a Stormtrooper blaster rifle, because that's what the vintage figure came with. And this guy is also done up in black, but he does have the kind of telltale stripe of silver on there as well. So you've got three different guns for your Boba Fett, and one thing that I've mentioned before that I always love is you can have all three guns on him at the same time. If you're like me and you like to have all your stuff contained, you can have him dual wielding while also having that pistol holstered. And I think he looks great holding both of these guns. This the sawed-off shotgun type of gun is always going to be my favorite, but I love the fact that they did include the Stormtrooper gun, because that is an iconic thing that kind of harkens back to that original figure. So overall, this is a pretty fun figure. He is certainly not a perfect recreation of that vintage Kenner figure, but I think this is a solid tribute in what they tried to do to make this guy very, very basic in terms of that color scheme, while also giving him a little bit more detail with some of those things that didn't exist on the original figure, like the Death's Head or the frill on his chest, things like that. It's definitely a collector style figure, so I'm glad they gave us some more details without him being just a straight base few swipes of paint type of figure. I love the things that they changed about him to make him look that way. Those saturated colors, the red on the rocket, including the Stormtrooper blaster rifle. Removal of the cape is definitely a good thing, but of course I wish they would have filled in that hole somehow. Otherwise, I'm really happy with this guy. He may not be something that everybody needs to take out of package. I know that for sure. He definitely looks amazing on that card back no matter what. So if you've got him in the box or out of the box, I think you're going to be really, really happy with this one. If you're a big Boba Fett fan, or if you're somebody who just has a lot of nostalgia for that original Kenner line. So that's going to do it for this look at the Star Wars Black Series SDCC 2019 Boba Fett. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.